today we decided that we think it's going to be productive to talk about how we run the operations of the call center and how we have built the team that does the cold calling and every other pillar that is in the operations, like the team leader, the quality assurance members, all the data members that are in support of the callers while calling. Because you see a lot of people, they want to create a cold calling campaign. And what happens is when they create that cold calling campaign, they'll get the caller, they'll get a great caller, right? They can hire them either off Upwork or Facebook. There's a lot of options. And once they connect with that caller, they might pull a list or get a list that's ready. If they have a tool that's as useful as DealMachine that's in their subscription, then they will definitely pull lists from there and they'll start dialing. Now, there's a lot of aspects that come in to make sure that that cold calling campaign will be not just successful. Most people, they might end up getting one or two very good leads throughout the month that will or might convert. But that's usually not enough with just one caller. You want to always utilize all the things that you have. And the way we look at it, that when we were starting our call center, right, one of the most important things that we were focusing on in the beginning was the callers, the quality of the person that is going to be on the phone, and that was really important. We had one of the best teams out there that were doing their own cold calls, but we discovered that the numbers were not as competitive as they were to maybe some other campaigns, and that was from the data, from the coaching, the team leading, all of that plays into really extreme and important roles when
So
it comes to the campaign.
yeah, you're saying you were buying phone numbers from different sources, right?
Yes, we bought phone numbers. You mean skip tracing, right? Skip tracing.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm asking is what you're talking about.
We're talking about
When you say the
the
numbers, do
team.
you mean their KPIs or their?
Yes,
I got you. Yeah,
I meant their KPIs. We're looking at the team that's behind the caller. So it's the callers out there, they're on the dialer. There's a team behind them making sure that all their steps and their entire process is as what we want it to be, right? So it begins by after we get that caller and we give them the training, there needs to be an auditor on the dialer, making sure that all the calls that are going through that system, the caller is aligned with what we want them to say and with everything that we have trained them and taught them on how to do the call. So there are a bunch of things that the caller will get vetted through during their calls. So things we look at is the readiness. So the readiness is when the phone comes in, someone picks up, how fast are they going to pick up that phone call? When they say hello, right? It has to be by the millisecond. After readiness, we got their tonality. So the tonality, it matters a lot on the phone call. Sometimes we'll see a caller would call someone and their tonality or their approach wasn't the best way. And when someone else calls them, another caller calls them, we see that they tend to convert, or they're even if they're extremely not interested, they will not tell us, do not
right.
call list.
So
Sometimes they'll tell us wait a bit.
when I'm hiring, one of the ways that I evaluate that is before they schedule an interview with me. Like I actually have them send me a video explaining
Hmm.
something about the city they live in or whatever. So you could tell tonality pretty quickly from that without even getting on an interview.
Exactly.
But you're
Video.
saying, did you
Mhm.
inherit this team from? Did you inherit this team from a client, or are you just saying that you're ongoing evaluating their tonality?
Oh no, we get our own callers. 80% of our campaigns, we have our own callers. Some campaigns, we are just managing the data, so we're data managers here, right? We're just making sure that your calls and your abandon rate, your dialer, your data, skip tracing, all of that is on point. If you have a caller that you have been working with for the past 5 years, you don't want them to go. You don't want to let them go. They're doing great as a caller, but there's a lot of other aspects that that caller is not going to be able to really adjust when it comes to the data work. So we like to hire our own callers through a process. They start by sending a video and a voice note of introducing themselves, or like you said, just describing their city, whatever. You get an idea of how that person communicates. Um, throughout their lives and how they're going to communicate on the phone. So their tonality is really important when it comes to auditing the caller, right? We also look at mirroring. So when the homeowner is talking to them, sometimes they'll talk to a senior citizen who is a bit, they just need to be a bit more slow on the phone. They might not pick up everything that they're saying, so they need to adjust and mirror the person they're talking to. Sometimes they talk to someone
Right.
who's in a rush, right?
So
They are late to work and they don't have the luxury to answer all these questions at a slow pace. So the caller
totally.
needs to basically give them the idea that I understand, I know that you're in a rush, and we'll get this over with.
Totally.
And
So I understand that. Now, how do you manage that with 60 callers? Do you listen to random recordings on a daily basis, or or do you just look at the metrics and say, "Oh, this person isn't getting as many hot leads, so therefore now I'll go dive into their recordings to see if I can tell if tonality is not or mirroring is not happening."
so if a caller their numbers are decreasing significantly, then there will be a full investigation on why it's that this is happening, right? But our auditing team, they have a target to for every caller we have, they should track 5% of their daily calls to see throughout that day the 5% of the calls that we selected randomly, plus all the appointments. So any lead that comes in, this has to be audited. But we also want to look at the not interested. We want to look at those who didn't come in as appointments. So we want to know why they didn't come in as an appointment, as well as the hangups, really important. We found out that you get 95% more hangups when the tonality or the accent or the English is not as clear. On the phone call, you get 95% more hangups,
Right. So it's
which
worth paying more for
it
somebody that
burns the
has less of an
list.
accent.
Exactly, and that is something that's really important when it comes to cold calling, right? When you're doing we do sometimes lead nurturing. So when we begin working with one of our customers, let's say they're a realtor, a wholesaler, land developer, they have been in the field for the past 5, 10, 12, whatever years, right? And they'll have a huge database. They'll have a lot of leads in the system, and they'll have a a lot of numbers just sitting there, people that they spoke to 2 years ago or 3 years ago or even a month ago. They said they're not interested, or they filled out a form and they paid for this lead. Our customer paid for it as a PPC lead, for example, but the homeowner decided that it's not the best time to move forward with the sale. What we'll do here is, it's a cold lead. We want to warm it up. We want to keep calling it, and we'll add it to the list. We'll be calling the people that told you that they're not interested now to sell, even though they might have filled out a form on your website saying that they didn't want to sell. Um, in the end of the day, they end up converting, especially when we keep following up. They convert at the best time that suits them, but we want to make sure that we are there
Mhm.
when they want to convert. So the lead, uh, for us, it has a cycle, and it begins with the data, the numbers, the team behind it, and I would love Mo will take it from here to basically get over on how we or that life cycle of the lead.
So for us, the lead, let's start from the very beginning on how we got that lead in the first place and all of these stages and the pipelines it moves through. First of all, of course, the lead that you're gonna get, you're gonna pull it from Deal Machine or any data source that you have. And for us, we have data managers for our campaigns. They study your markets. They analyze, which areas are gonna be the best for your campaign. They do a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that, the dialer is set up according to speed. There's no, spam phone numbers in the system because if you have a spam phone number, no one's gonna pick up. Uh, Alongside that, everything in the dialer is gonna be set up perfectly. So they're gonna get that lead from Deal Machine. They're gonna get it to your dialer or set it to be dialed in Deal Machine itself. So after that, of course, you're gonna have your cold caller calling that lead. Now, like Kareem said, we have the role of the auditor. Let's say You have the caller logging in for 8 hours a day. We're gonna have the other listen to some random calls. They're gonna see, are their dispositions correctly? Are they spending too much time between calls? They have high post-call time. Maybe they're taking too many breaks. Maybe, their hang-up rate, it's too high compared to our standards and our KPIs. All of that, we do monitor it, and all of that gets forwarded to their team leaders and their coaches.
So how many
The team leaders,
conversations does each caller have in a day? Right, they're working the peak 6 hours of the day. Right, how many conversations do you think your average caller has?
in a full-time shift, I would say, they need to have no less than around 150. Maybe they can get up to 300 if they're really short calls, but they do get a lot of calls in.
Yes.
Um,
And then how many I know you sell the leads, right? Or you administer the call center for your clients. I was going to ask how many weeks go by before one caller might get a deal, right? But maybe you don't know that metric because you're not closing, you're not the one closing the deals, right? Or do you have that feedback?
We have a good idea about what these kind of numbers, what they look like. Um, so every 20 to 30 leads, we might get a contract. And every two contracts, there's a close. Sometimes you might close with one contract, but every two contracts, there's a close, and 20 to 30 appointment leads is when our every 20 leads we send, we get a hey, we just locked up a contract from one of our clients. That's on average.
Yes. Okay, good. Hey, Bill Smith says, is
mhm.
this using DealMachine's dialer? No, DealMachine has a single line dialer. It's great for calling 10,000 homeowners a month or less. If you're going to call more, I would recommend export. And a lot of people that do high volume, like Nadila, they export from DealMachine and put it into their multi-line dialer. So a multi-line dialer, we basically guarantee the DealMachine numbers. They never show as spam. It's got a 25% connection rate, which is really unheard of when you're just plowing through a bunch of data. The multi-line dialer will hang up on people that don't answer as quickly, right? So the connection rate's not going to be as good, but you have like a lot of data, right? So it's actually going to be better when you have a scaled call center to use a multi-line dialer because it keeps your reps talking to someone new every 30 seconds. So hope that helps you out, Bill. What dialer do you guys use again, Kareem? I forget.
So we use a mix between call tools and batch dialer.
Okay.
And for DealMachine Dialer, it's great, really good when it comes to the following up and rewarming up the leads because nurturing the appointments, we see that the list that we get from our customer, like I said, they will be, 5 years in the business, they have a big database, all of these customers that are in the pipeline, but they haven't contacted them in a while. The DealMachine Dialer, because the phone numbers on this list, they're all correct and the addresses are correct and the homeowners most likely filled it out themselves, you'll find that it's really great to follow up on these people through the DealMachine Dialer because it's a single line. So the person you're calling, they'll pick up. We only want to
Yeah.
do one channel when it
Yeah.
comes to a warm list like this.
There's a new iOS. I've heard people concerned about the screening feature in the new iOS. So I was curious if you guys knew about that, if you have an opinion on that. Um, what is it? How are you feeling about that?
So we heard about the uh, screening back 2 or 3 months ago when it was in the leaks, and a beta version came out only a month later. We had one of our team members, they installed the beta version of the iOS so we can test it before it's officially live with everyone. And surprisingly, so you might find a decrease in the pickup rate, but you'll also find an increase in the interest of the person that you're talking to. And because we're using a power line data, the caller doesn't, it's not like they'll go for longer without getting calls because we'll just adjust how many channels we're calling from and make sure that the abandon rate stays low. Uh, but the people talking to and those who have it enabled, we found out that they might not pick up when they're really not interested, right? But the feature that it gives you is, so when you call, it gives you on the notch over here a transcript of what you're saying, right? Siri will tell you to leave a message or why are you calling? That you'll respond, and it will write a transcript on top of the phone, and they'll decide whether they want to answer or not. Now, this is almost equivalent to sending a cold text message to someone because we're forcing a text onto their phone. If they don't want to pick up, and if that person wasn't going to pick up in the first place, now we were able to leave a message on their phone telling them what's the context of the call. Sometimes we see people picking up for that. They were just sick of spam calls. Maybe it's a call center that's called to try to scam them out. There's some people calls not all about real estate, right? So when they see, well, we train the callers that if they run into something like this, they have a very short script so that it's short enough it will fit onto the iPhone's transcription without having those three
Yeah.
dots.
What are they saying? Do you
And
know
we
what that
will
example is?
it's going to be sometimes we were testing multiple phrases. So the first one that we found that works really well is, hey, and they would say the first name, and we're calling on the property at 123 Main Street.
Oh, you see,
Now,
simple enough.
most of the time,
And it
yeah,
works just like Google
they're
Voice, right?
curious.
Sometimes Google Voice be like, hey, let this person know who you're calling about. It's kind of working like that,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and on the iPhone, it just gives you it gives them the text. It shows up on top of the phone on why you're calling, and they'll decide whether they want to pick up or not. But
So
sometimes when mhm.
will your auto dialer, will it count that as the answer to let your rep then give that script?
No, we only do that after we turn off the auto answering machine option, after we have cleaned the list to make sure that it's free from the answering machines. So, because sometimes the data will mix up and think it's an answering machine instead of not knowing it's Siri. So there is a small adjustment to work around in data work, but we found it didn't really affect the pickup rate, sorry, the overall conversion rate yet. So we'll see what Apple's going to throw next.
Where do you guys want to go from here? Because I got a couple more questions, but I know you also had planned extra stuff that you were going to tell us. So what was next on your list?
We were to also go through, we were speaking about the auditing process and how we make sure that the caller basically, there's the coaching and the team leader. That is something that we want to talk about, and they are in the call center. Sometimes we'll see that when one of our we have a team leader who's he's one of our best team leaders actually. Shout out, his name is Ali Zain, right? And he had this 2 weeks where he wasn't with us. He wasn't able to really be with us for just 2 weeks, and we saw his team. There was a slight drop in their performance. Now we managed, and we kept, we pushed more trainings, more coaching, and we were able to get the numbers up. And the numbers were at a good place. When he returned and came back, our numbers almost doubled, and they weren't doubled back then. But the team leader, it really matters for the caller knowing that their job is not just about logging in and wearing the headset and working for 8 hours. That's it. To them, sometimes that's just not enough. And when you have a team leader that is there, it's supporting the cold caller throughout their entire shift, whether whatever it is, right? They're their manager before the HR. It really helps them.
Yeah, I was
It
just
really helps with the qualification, with the motivation, because sometimes, a cold caller, they're gonna get stuck. They're not gonna be able to understand, okay, why didn't I get leads yesterday? What's going on today? People are hanging up on me. I got a new rebuttal, or sorry, I got a new objection. I don't really know what to say now, because, that's where the team leader steps in, and they do help them with that, and, try to coach them through and get them on their best performance.
How often do you step in because the team leader's not doing that effectively?
I would say me and Kareem, we don't personally step in because, at the end of the day, our team leaders, we actually, we don't put hiring posts for team leaders. Our team leaders, they're promoted internally from the team itself. This is because, we really value our culture and the team we've built, and we just don't want someone externally to come in and manage the team. When it's internal, it really makes everyone want to perform their best because, maybe, you're going to be the next one up, you'll get a promotion, you get a new position, and it really drives the team forward.
Yeah, and anyone here who has a call center or has a bunch of callers in their team, giving them some kind of motive or uh, a corporate ladder that's going to be in front of them, right? There is something after just calling, right? Or after just cold calling that does motivate them to stay longer, and you'll see their results as well. It really matters to them when there's just more than after doing the cold calls. If they have the opportunity to become an auditor or team leader or quality assurance member, they'll work hard to get to that point. So giving them that ladder, it really helps.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.